Hi, welcome to Heal Body, Mind and Spirit. My name is Dermot Farrell and today we're going to talk about leading a successful life, leading an ethical life. As a third part in a series of videos on success and ethics, the first part was having a vision, and the focus on the first part is how you have to have a vision to succeed in life. The second part was that although you have to have a vision, you have to have some character development as a human being. And the third is then, how do we apply this in business life? How can we be successful and yet be ethical? So just as a quick summary, first of all, the point I was making in the first video, the importance of having a vision, is that if you want to be a success in life, you have to know what you want to achieve. You have to do some soul searching and find out what you want to achieve. And then you have to have a will of iron in order to succeed at that. You might have seen, you probably have seen, the Secret documentary that came out maybe 15 years ago now, maybe longer, the early 90s. The Secret was all about how you can attract things into your life by the power of attraction. And it's a very interesting thing with The Secret. Prior to The Secret, we had in the 1960s, we had positive thinking. I can, you can if you think you can, I can if I think you can. And that was popular. What The Secret basically revealed is that there's also a law of attraction. And the law of attraction means that it's not enough to have a positive thought if you don't believe it. You can think it all you want up here. If you don't believe it down there, nothing's going to happen. So that was the great thing with the Secret. But it kind of backfired away. Although it was terribly successful, after a while a lot of people started complaining about The Secret and saying that it just whitewashed everything and came across too simplistically. And I think the problem with The Secret as a documentary, as it were, was that they're so focused on trying to tell you about the law of attraction, which basically if you feel something, if you believe something, it will happen. They're so focused on this that they didn't focus on the effort side of things. So it's almost like they're saying, you just visualize this wonderful life, you got like success and great relationships and a big house and a car, and it'll just happen. I personally, I don't think that the individual contributors to the success documentary really believed that. I think that they were emphasizing something, and when editing the thing they got so carried away with the emphasis that they forgot about the fact that, yeah, you have to put effort in as well. And I think this is a terribly important thing. First of all, with having a vision, you cannot succeed, you cannot achieve anything in life unless you can see it, unless you can believe it. You have to see it, you have to believe it. So first of all, you have to conceptualize it, okay? So if you want to become a success at anything, first of all, you have to see that success. You have to believe there's a possibility of being that successful and understanding what that kind of success will be like. If you can't even conceptualize it, I mean, for example, let's say you're living in some village somewhere in some country, maybe in like Africa or South America or Asia or something like that, and you're potentially the best runner in the world, but you don't even know there's a running competition, so you never compete, therefore you don't know. So we know, for example, Usain Bolt is the best, up to now anyway, the best 100-meter runner, but there could be somebody better, but they just don't know they're better. They don't even know there's a competition, they never even thought about it. So first of all, you have to conceptualize it up here. Then you have to believe. This is where the envisioning process comes. You have to believe you can achieve it. You have to work towards achieving it. So that's terribly important. But the third factor is hard work. In general, in this world, there's a lot of marketing which is out there to tell you that everything's easy because they want your money. They want you to buy their products and services. But the reality is that the majority of people, some people are very lucky the way they fall into things, but the majority of people succeed through grit, through grinding on. And this is really a very important thing which I was trying to come across with that first video, is you really got to find out what you want, because you're going to have to hold on there and give it everything. Even when you feel like giving in, you're going to just have to keep barging your way forward. You've got to have a lot of boldness, You got to keep pushing forward to succeed. Very important thing. So this is the essence of success. It's basically ruthlessness, which an ability to push and squeeze and get forward. And it's necessary in a competitive marketplace. You know, for example, the other day I like Quaker's oats, and there's another company which I don't like because, to be honest with you, the oats are rubbish. But my wife bought the wrong bag. Said the Quaker, she got the other pack. But I looked at the pack, and the pack was exactly the same as Quaker's, except it has a different. There's the same kind of bowl of porridge, the same blue colour. Everything's the same apart from the name. Now that's ruthless. It's not illegal. It's not immoral. You can do it. It's called being competitive. It's kind of wrong because you're basically cheating the customer. It's borderline. It's a bit of a cheat, you know. But you can't say it's illegal. But that's competition. So to some degree, success in life requires one to be bullheaded, bold, pushy, never take no for an answer. But when we overdo this, we can become rather nasty and dominant people, and this is the opposite end, which we don't want to be. Okay. So back into ethics and business and character development. I was saying in the other video, the second video on character development, that to be an all-round success as a person, you need a good character. Also, you need to develop certain characteristics. Even if you're a heartless individual who's just ruthless and doesn't care about anybody and really not a nice person, to some degree you have to develop some virtues. Just take a look at the screen here. We'll just show a little list of vices and virtues. So you have to show some virtues in order to be a success in life, as in hard work, be willing to to be diligent, a certain degree of patience, to be able to control your anger. Okay, so to some degree you have to develop some virtues in order to be a success. But you can still be a monster. You can still be a very unbalanced person, a very nasty person. So what I was saying in the other video on character development is that even a person is not very nice, but they're a success in life, they will have had to develop some virtues, because all the vices are about the lowest common denominator. Okay, and the lowest common denominator is always the easy path, the path of least resistance. So things like being lazy, being angry, lusting after other people's stuff, avariciousness, etc. All of these things are basically, these vices are the easiest thing to do. It's hard to bite your lip and not shout at somebody. It's hard to not chase after your desire for food or your desire for some sexually attractive member of the opposite sex. It's hard to be generous. It's hard to be patient. It's hard to work hard. All these things take discipline and dedication. So, the scoundrel, the terrible human being, somebody with no character, is basically somebody who doesn't have any of these virtues, or practically none of these virtues. So if you want to be a success in business, like a businessman, for example, or a success as a business executive in a corporation, for example, or even a successful artist or musician or whatever, you have to at least develop some of the positive characteristics like diligence, patience, etc. But you can still be fairly monstrous. You can still be maybe very lustful, very greedy, avaricious kind of individual, which would be very negative. Now, what you might be saying is, well, why should I bother? Why shouldn't I follow all these things? Why shouldn't I do these things? There's a famous movie which you may have heard of, which was made in 1987. It's called Wall Street, and the main character, Gordon Gekko, gives a famous speech where he says greed is good. And this was back in the 80s. We had these stockbrokers were yuppies, drive around the Porsche 911s and living the high life. So there's a guy who obviously to some degree would have some degree of character development to be a success, like diligence and patience and all of that. But other than that, he had no character. The problem with living like that is you become a bit of a monster. Another interesting thing, I remember some years ago, I went to a lecture by a well-known Roman Catholic priest in Ireland. And what I thought was interesting, it was a nice lecture, and then somebody asked some questions at the end of it. And one of the questions that person asked is, how come the world's such a nasty place? To which the priest answered by saying that individually when he meets people, everybody seems very nice, but collectively the world seems to be kind of a nasty place. He didn't have an answer, and I didn't have an answer at the time either. But the thought kept rolling through my head, why is it that individually everybody seems so nice, yet the world seems so nasty? And it took a long time, and eventually I came to the conclusion that the reason why is because human beings are divided. You cannot divide yourself. This is something very important. As a human being, you are a whole being, and you can't take one side yourself and put it to the other side. So, for example, let's say you take a person, a very nice, good person in many ways, but they've got a lewd side. They're chasing after sexy members of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever. They're doing something they shouldn't be doing, and they're covering it up. And they try to forget about it. Another example might be the alcoholic or the drug addict. They try to cover it up. And maybe they're even successful at covering up their addiction, whatever it may be. But it's usually costing them money which could be going into the family to make the family better and happier. And things like, for example, cheating on your wife, cheating on your husband, usually means some of your libido, some of your drive, some of your interest in them is dissipating, has gone somewhere else. Because you're channeling it somewhere else, and usually creates a distance, which is almost impossible to overcome. Things like alcohol and drugs, for instance, tend to create a distance within the person themselves, or if they feel kind of out of it, and then they find it hard to connect with others. And although many people successfully cover up their vices for so many years, they're always pulling at them in some way. There's a pulling effect, and it pulls them down and makes them a weaker version of themselves. So this is one of the central reasons why character development is important. But also, as a society, we can't be pretending to be good and then being bad at the same time and say, well, I was only bad on the weekend. I got drunk and I punched somebody's lights out. But we'll forget about it now. Okay? You see it a lot in international politics. A lot of countries like to pose about how great they are, and then they invade another country under some pretext. But why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they invading? Why are they attacking at all? You know, strategic attacks on some strategic place of importance in another country, with the inevitable collateral damage of killing a lot of innocent people. So that's an example of nastiness in international politics. So what they're doing is, on one level, they're saying we are very good people in this country, and we are very good individuals, but our country has to do something nasty. They're basically covering up something. If a person's cheating on their wife or their husband, in many ways they're nice, but they're trying to divide themselves and put to one side. But the fact is they are cheating, and it does take something away from the relationship. Say a businessman, for example, if he's a really nice guy, and maybe that businessman or businesswoman, to go to, you know, the temple or the mosque on a Friday, or they go to synagogue on a Saturday, or they go to church on a Sunday. All religions seem to have stuff on Friday, Saturday, Sundays. On Monday morning they turn up for work, and then they do something ruthless and nasty to somebody. But they're trying to ignore what they did. You know, there's a great movie series, if you've ever seen it, back in the 70s, called The Godfather. And there's Godfather 1, 2 and 3, they're famous movies. But this Corleone guy, the lead guy, the lead character in the movie, was always trying to be, you know, Mr. Family Guy. Al Pacino, by the way, Al Pacino's the actor. He was so nice with his family, and then he'd have a scene and show where he's getting his enemies there. Some guy's getting his throat cut in the barber shop while they're sitting there in the Roman Catholic Church receiving the Eucharist and all this stuff. Okay, so there's a clear example of a guy saying, "Well, I'm just doing what I have to do." Okay, and this feeds into something which I've seen a lot over the years. This mantra, which is, "It's only business." People, so many times I've had this with people. They've either said this phrase, "It's only business," or they've suggested this phrase in different words. But basically that they did something really nasty and they said it's only business. So all of the world There's literally billions of people who are going to synagogues, temples, mosques, churches, etc. And out of those, there's literally millions of those people who on a Monday morning turn up to their office or their government office. Maybe they turn up to their own office and they screw somebody over, or they screw over another business. Or in the case of politics, they arrive in a government office and they sign something that basically, does something that's totally against somebody else's rights. So what they're doing is they're saying on Monday morning, it's only business. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm doing what's convenient for my organization or my career or the country or whatever. But on the weekend, I was following my religious practice, and all the religions basically say that God is good, that mankind is like the child of God, and that we must love each other as brothers and sisters, which is fine on the weekend. But on Monday, I have to go and crucify these people. I have to treat these people badly because it's only business. It's as if it's a gain, but it's not a gain to the people at the receiving end. Now, this has many negative side effects. For one, I think it answers the question what this priest was saying, that people individually are good but collectively are bad, because people are in denial. They'll be good as long as everything's hunky-dory. But the moment you threaten their income or their prestige or their organization or their country or anything at all that their religion that they're attached to, especially things to do with money and power, they will immediately turn on you. Not everybody, but some of these people in positions of power will turn on you. So they can be very nice to you individually, but then they will go into their office, and this is where it really gets bad. They will go into their office and make a heartless decision as if it didn't matter. So for example, the government minister who signs off on a strategic attack in another country, and it's okay if it's a military target, but we're talking maybe in a suburban zone, doing something which is disrespectful, doing something which is hurting other people. Governments I've seen over the years, even let's get away from the contentious issues of international politics, even national politics. I remember when I used to live in Ireland, I was living in Dublin and near the Parliament, and I'd regularly see people who felt that they got hard done by the government for one reason or another, and they would stay outside the government buildings in a tent, for example. And if you looked into their case, you would find that they had a genuine case, but the government didn't give a damn. In general, governments don't give a damn. They will kind of do the right thing some of the time, and other times when it doesn't suit them, especially if it's a minority group, they will do something. Maybe not torture them or kill them or something, but in some way they will disrespect them or not help them. That, for example, is heartless. How can I go to a church or a mosque or a temple on the weekend, and on Monday I sign some court order or something, evicting some people or not supporting some people who are living in my country and are probably good people, but they're in a minority group and we just don't give a damn about them because they're a minority group. That's an example. If you take business, what's ethical in business? Okay, so the example of the Quaker's Oats and the other guy, it's borderline. It's highly competitive, but you can't really, it's very borderline. It's basically a cheat. I ended up having the wrong oats because these guys cheated me, basically. So it is a cheat, but it is borderline. To some degree, you need competition, and certain colour schemes work for attracting products and so on. But where it does get bad is if you, for example, put out a bad word about somebody else's product and you try and destroy their product, or you try and destroy their individual reputation. That's very bad. If you are, if somebody is an employee of yours and you give them zero notice, and then outside of the trial period, but you didn't give them any notice as to why you're firing them, or any explanation, or any chance for improvement, again, that's very bad. Fortunately these days, most big corporations, in fairness to them, are pretty good at this. Usually they follow a lot of protocol. Smaller companies are usually worse at this. So usually corporates are better at this. But that's an example. Treating people badly, treating people with disrespect, walking over other people, things like you want a promotion in your job and you decide to, this is extremely common and a lot of people probably wouldn't even think twice about it. You have internal politics in your office and you team up with a few other people to edge the other guy out. You try and make him look bad, you blame everything on him, you set everything up to make him or her look bad, and you get yourself into position. Now, you didn't technically lie, you didn't technically cheat, He didn't rob anybody. He didn't break any rules or regulations. But you use office politics in such a way to make them look bad, so that you would look good, so you would get the position. Now, most people say there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, I disagree. Ruthlessness is required. You need to be very focused and go for it, and just apply yourself if you want success in life. But you shouldn't actively try to destroy somebody, even if it's technically not illegal what you did. You just schemed in order to go and put them in a loose position and then set things up so that they would look bad. That is wrong. So trying to destroy somebody is wrong. Trying to destroy somebody else's business is wrong. Treating other people with disrespect is wrong. Okay? And this is where you need character, because if you don't develop a character, lack of character means an inability to discriminate between right and wrong. And if this goes out of control, we end up with very evil people indeed. So it's not as simple as, well, everybody else is doing it, everybody else will be successful, is ruthless. Ruthless is not necessarily wrong if ruthlessness is, I'm playing by the rules, but I'm not being Mr. Friendly. You know, if you go into an MMA fight or a boxing match, these guys try their best to knock the other guy's lights out. But you're not allowed to hit below the belt. Okay? When the guy turns away from you, you're not allowed to just run in and kick him in the back of the head or something. It's wrong. So these guys who are world champion MMA fighters and boxing champions and so on, they don't think twice about hurting the guy. That's ruthless, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's what it's about. But they shouldn't do a move that's prohibited, and the moves are prohibited because they're very dangerous. So by all means be ruthless. By all means push out the boundaries. By all means go for it and don't take no for an answer. But you must respect other people and not try to destroy other people or other organisations and walk over them and say it's only business. Things like you're supposed to pay somebody but you don't pay them. You're supposed to honour some contract but you don't honour a contract. You get somebody to sign something and then you double cross and cheat them. Okay? That's a vice. That's wrong. It's wrong on many levels. One is just morally bankrupt. On another level, because we can't divide ourselves, you're not going to be the satisfied, happy human being you'd like to be. The example I was giving earlier of the drug addict or the alcoholic or the person who's cheating on their wife or husband, they can't take that part of themselves and chop it off and stick it in a box somewhere, much that they might like to, because it's always there pulling them on some level. It might cost them a lot of money, but more than likely, it's not so much the money, it's usually they won't be as connected with their family as they could be. And they won't be as perhaps driven in life as they could be. Every time you have an addiction, it's robbing you of energy, because by and large when we have addictions, it's something we can't cope with. We don't know how to go forward and we feel frustrated, and there's an escape valve through the addiction. If you could bypass the addiction and take that libido or that aggression or that energy and put it toward achieving something in life, we become far more successful. So, when you have an addiction, when you have a vice, it always pulls at you, and it stops you from being as fully committed as you would like to be, say with your family and friends, and it will torment you to some degree. If you are, by same token, if you're in business life, like you're a business person, or you're like a senior executive in a company, or some government senior person in a government office or whatever, if you're nice most of the time, but in the office you do terrible things, it's there somewhere in the back of your mind. It will either torment you and make you feel bad, or if it's no longer tormenting you, it means you lost your ability to discriminate, in which case you're no longer right or wrong, in which case you'll start turning into a monster. So either you're going to be a tormented person, or you're going to slowly become a monstrous sort of person who does more and more worse and worse things. And this is what happens when you lose your character. You become this horrible person. So by all means be ruthless, by all means be driven, but to be a really successful person, happy, integrated person, not just somebody who makes money, but somebody who can actually hold down a relationship, interact with other people, be at peace with yourself, be at harmony with yourself, then you need character development. You need to push hard, you need to be a little bit ruthless, but you still need to be fair. You need to be able to go home at night and sleep and not feel you did something terrible. You need to be whole and integrated. Okay? So may God bless you with your endeavors. Okay? But realize that if you want the blessings of God, that you must be a person of virtue and not a person of vice with all sorts of excuses. And that's also why the world is the way it is. People are nice, but then they go into their office, whatever office, government office, army office, civilian office, and they treat others with disrespect. Jesus says in the Bible, treat others as you would have them treat you. If you can do that, if you can treat everybody fairly in the way you would like to be treated, then the world will be a wonderful place. The world is a bad place because people are duplicit, because people are saying one thing and doing another thing. They're justifying. Well, it's only that country, it's only that company, it's only that person. But ultimately speaking, they're all doing that to you and everybody else. If everybody's screwing everybody over, and the world is a shitty place. How to stop the world being a shitty place? We all just have to start respecting each other. It's not as hard as we think it is. We have to go from the lowest common denominator of just reacting to becoming more responsive and deciding what's the mature thing to do. Okay? So this is a complex subject, and it's just some thoughts on it. My suggestion is that you can lead a successful life by having a vision and being driven, but don't lose your character. And that way you will lead a successful life, you'll lead an ethical life, you will lead a happy and productive life. Okay, thanks for dropping in, and like and subscribe if you can, and have a great day.